Bumps and bruises, scratches and scrapes, some of the ingredients that a good life makes. But sorrows become success, and as we aim for the top, we will pause if we must, but we will never stop. Welcome to Sim Soul Sessions. Hello guys, and welcome to Sim Soul Sessions. This is the safe space to share your stories. Tonight I'm talking to journalist and broadcaster and attorney at law and mother and wife and PhD student Dionne Jackson Miller about all angles of her life, and where the last five and a half of them in particular have been lived with a passion and purpose that only a close look at mortality can bring. She's with us now in the big chair. Man!
Oh, you make it sound like I have a story.
It's so good to have you. You know what, DJ M? The first thing you said to me when we spoke was, Sim, I don't have a struggle story.
There you go.
And I said to you, I wonder if you've been so busy telling so many others that you don't realize how potent yours is.
Well, let's see.
Let's see. I'd have to see, because I already know. You are not used to being on that side of the...
I'm not. I think this is only probably the third time, because I spoke to Yende, I spoke to Archie on Profile, and this is literally the third time.
What you don't like about it?
It's always strange.
What's strange and bad? And you say that if we talk too much about ourselves, there's no more curiosity?
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself out there too much, I think, because then Jamaicans would say you get common. The marketing people would talk about the scarcity, and that scarcity has a value.
Yes,
so
it
I think
does.
you always do want to leave a little bit of mystery. You don't want people in your life, in your face every minute of the day.
Okay. All right. Well, insofar as you'll allow me, I want to peel back some layers today so that people can see you beyond the journalist and what else you have chosen to share. Most of us do know you as a hard-nosed news journalist that people love to love. Some people
love to hate.
But that's how you say you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with deciding to walk in the middle or to lead a quiet life, but that's not necessarily what I want to do. And I think that if you are speaking out, if you're having your voice heard, if you have strong opinions on issues, some people are going to gravitate to you and other people are going to be turned off by you. But I think it's important to take up space in the world and to have your voice heard, and to come to terms with that or to be okay with that, you also have to be okay with the realization that not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because if you're fixated on having everybody like you, what you're able to do and the impact you're able to have is going to be very, very constrained.
As Kitty would say, you can't be everybody cup of tea because you're in a mug.
My sea-coal whole name was Mug.
No way.
It actually was, yeah.
I'm not going to ask you why.
No,
I know those stories.
that's a secret. Not even my kids know that yet.
But that outspoken nature that you have has everything to do with how you were raised.
Yes. My father was, vice principal and English and history teacher plus athletics coach, and my mother was a librarian. And we were just, one, we grew up with books all around us, and two, we were always encouraged to talk. This thing about picnic shut your mouth, that was never a part of my reality or my identity, and it's something I still don't understand, because I think when you allow children to talk, you hear the most amazing things in terms of honesty, in terms of sometimes, I guess I wouldn't call it wisdom coming from kids, but they have insights. They have clarity and they have insights that I think sometimes the world beats out of you as you get a little older.
It's true.
So
It's an honest outlook. It's an honest appreciation of the world that we are so jaded sometimes that we don't have it.
It's what you get when they look at you and they tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I remember one day, because I've worn my hair in many different styles over the years, and one day, at one point in life, my hair was almost bald. And I was going out one day, and my son was, high at the time, and he looked at me and he's like, "Mommy, you look nice, but you need hair." Yeah, they'll just tell you the truth. They'll tell you the truth.
No filter. You say when you were growing up, in high school in particular, there were the cool kids, you were the nerd, you say.
Yeah, not just a nerd, but the nerd that people used to laugh after.
Why, DJ?
Because kids laugh after anybody who is a little bit out of it. And, in first form, I had this huge backpack. And I used to carry everybody say I must have carried the whole of my book them to school every single day. So me a little bit and the backpack big. And then I'm going to say this, I said this in every interview to my parents, I love them dearly. But then they'd buy some shoes for me in a high school where, people used to talk about kick me, kill me. And you walk, and as you walk, some people laugh after you shoes them. What it did, though, it teaches you very early, say, you can't make people get to you, So otherwise, you can't get anywhere. So you have to kind of go on like, here. Years after, one of my best friends said to me, she thought I didn't hear.
So you became so good at not...
Yeah, man, you have to walk through life and learn how to ignore the haters and ignore those throwing negativity at you and keep focus on what you need to do and where you're going.
Well, where you were going was 4 degrees. Listen, can we just talk about this a little bit? Your journey in media is going on, 3 decades? Just about. But before you landed here, Dionne, or on your way here, you have 4 degrees under your belt? 4 now?
Yeah, it's on our way, not true.
Where you find time for the four different degrees?
Well, 2 of them were before I started working. So like straight out of high school, I did a botany zoology double major in that side. That's when I thought I wanted to do science. And then coming straight out of that, a lot of us went straight from our first degree into our master's. And then I went to work, and then, then law came up along the way.
Botany, which you thought was what you wanted to do, eventually.
Study of plants, folks.
I mean, okay. Are you a green thumber?
Oh, no. I kill everything. It's on my list of things to do.
Yes.
One of the things before I die, right, I'm going to get an orchid and be able to keep it alive and have it bloom.
I want to say I feel a particular sense of kinship with you, because I've killed everyone I've ever received.
Really?
I've also killed a cactus, and so my friends are over me. But the irony and the paradox of you studying botany and then killing every plant you interact with, I'm not...
life has these little ironies throughout you.
Quite so. Okay, we're going to talk about the kind of, I don't know if it was a prison, but when you found yourself just out of love with botany, a little note from your husband to go and, self-actualize.
Yeah, it was, well, I did what I now call life sciences, as I said, zoology and botany. So I went to work at what is now NEPA. In the National Parks Division, which is legally protected areas, which I'm still interested in that, but I wasn't interested in what I was doing. And you know how it is when you don't like what you're doing. You come home every day and you cuss and you complain and whatever. And, my poor husband, one day he just was like, all right, look, I'm tired of this. Can't take it no more. If you don't like what you're doing, you need to go do something else. And that galvanized me to start just sending out resumes, because what I wanted to do, what I'd always wanted to do, was to work in journalism, work in communication. So I sent out to everywhere. The whole media house have rejected me, by the way, because, you look at this resume and it's like NATSI and you're working at NEPA, and why are you applying to us? And I was hired by a small public, but very quality public relations firm, Eunice Bent and Carmen Tippling, communications consultant. And there I got, I think, way better training I would have got in any media house. And from there I went to RJR.
And she said when she landed at RJR, she felt like, yes,
home.
This is what I was born to do. We'll talk more about that on the other side. More Dionne after this. right, folks, we're back with Dionne Jackson Miller. All angles of our life we're exploring. Well, the ones that she will allow us to explore at any rate. So tell us about this introduction to media now. You say thanks to mentors and people who are really good to you, you got your start. And when you landed, you were like, oh, this is it.
And I mean, I have to give, Huntley Medley was in, because I'd moved to Montego Bay, because my husband was working there. Huntley Medley was then in charge of the Western Bureau. He's now at Bank of Jamaica. Jennifer Grant was news editor. Michael Sharp was deputy news editor. And it was Michael Sharp who actually interviewed me. And Huntley had recommended it me, and it was Michael Sharp who took me on board. Told Jennifer, yeah, man. And she spoke to me over the phone, and then she said yes. And it was Michael who... If anybody who knows Michael knows that he believes in nurturing young people, nurturing young talent and giving people opportunities. And we used to do this program on Radio Jamaica called Exposure. In the 12:15 slot, it was a current affairs discussion program, you know, one of the only ones of its kind at the time. And Michael was the host, but every now and then he would go out of town. He would take the program out of town to look at issues in rural Jamaica. And whenever he did, he would have whoever was a correspondent in the area on air with him because he liked to expose their voices. And so he had me co-host with him when he came to Montego Bay. And, you know, that was literally when I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. You know, and Michael was just so encouraging and so helpful. And I will always remember him for that, you know. And the first time I was on TV was actually TJ. It was Michael doing one of his programs in the Library Park in Montego Bay, and Trevor Johnson came over to me and said, you know, you should be on air. You should be on air.
Did he really?
And then when I moved to Kingston and when I started All Angles, he came to me and said, do you remember what I told you in Montego Bay years ago?
He was just in here. Big up, Sir Jay. It's so important to have people pour into you, though, Dionne, but it's also important to find something that you love to do. You know, there are lots of people watching now who are just going through the motions and doing very mundane things. How did you know that this was it? How does one know what one's passion or purpose or a combination of the two is?
I think it's two things. I think it's one, following the things you're interested in and seeing where they lead. And just not being afraid to explore and to leave what you're doing and try all kinds of different things. Because I see people sometimes talking on social media how much they hate their job and are they going to have to do this for the next 40 years. And I feel so sorry for them because you spend so much of your life at work. It needs to be something that's contributing to your purpose on earth and that's contributing to your self-fulfillment. I mean, when I drive in here, I feel happy, you know, because I love the place and I love my job and I love the people I work with. So, and you want to feel like you're making a difference and you are using the talents that God gave you. And so in particular, going back to your question, I think it's really important for us to help children to explore as many different things as possible. You know, when I'm joking around, I'll tell people how my kids went through 50 million different activity and like they start scout and then they stop. They start music, then they stop. They start this, then they stop. Football, all kinds of things. But in really and truly, that's what you need to do as young people and as people in general. You need to just explore stuff you're interested in. And then when one speaks to your heart, you'll know this is it.
That's great advice. Yes.
So don't cuss the picnic them when they want to do all kinds of different things as a part of the process of learning who they are and learning what is their space in the world.
Yeah. 3 decades later, how would you sum up how your journey has been? Tell me about the highs and tell me about the lows.
Just amazing. I mean, highs. That has to be every time somebody messages me or sees me on the street and says, thank you, you know, you helped me to understand what's going on in the world, which is one of the things I aim to do. Thank you for, you know, asking the questions we want to ask of the people that we don't have access to. You know, thank you
Holding their feet to the fire, I think is more appropriate. But yes, go on.
Yeah. So yeah, just telling people stories. Archibald Gordon, who you know is one of our colleagues, a good friend of mine as well. He likes, when he is asked what he does, he likes to tell people he's a storyteller. And I love that because I think at essence that's really what we're doing. You know, that's what you're doing through Simsoul Session. That's what we do on a lot of the programs and the documentaries we do. We're telling the stories of people out there, and there are so many awesome stories.
Quite so. Lows?
Lows. I don't know.
None to talk about. Or none worth it to talk
In
about.
terms of the job,
The trappings, the experience.
I tell you something, the lows I think still have a flip side. So like for instance, people said to me, how you deal with the fact say you can't go anywhere without people recognize you, and as we said earlier, because I'm a strong personality, you have a lot of people who don't like me, and who cuss. I mean, like, you know, on my YouTube channel, you look at the comments and you have the political trolls who come in and them a cuss and whatever.
But they're subscribed. Thank
There you go. They're watching. But also the fact that there's a flip side to that. Because you're a public persona, you attract the negativity, but you also attract the positivity. So, you know, for every person who says, Dionne Jackson Miller, yeah, idiot, da, 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 there are other people who are saying, thank you so much. We appreciate so much what you do. So the trick is, I think, and this is something I'm continually working on. I'm not pretending it's easy. We tend to focus on the negative and ignore the positive. So you'll have 10 people or 100 people who say, boy, Sims, I love what you're doing. And that one person who will say, I hate your show, you this, you that. And somehow we ignore the 999 people saying positive things and we focus on this one negative thing.
Yeah.
So there are two things I do. And one of them is to say, even if somebody has made a negative comment, is there something in there I can learn from? So if somebody say, you interviewed Mark Golding or Andrew Holness and look how you're biased because you're this and that. I mean, it's easy to dismiss it, but at the same time, it's still worth interrogating. Was there something in the way I conducted the interview that would legitimately give rise to that kind of reasonable criticism? And if there is, then you can course correct and you can fix that. If there's not, then you say, okay, partisan comment, and you move right ahead. But there hardly is anything in which you can't still learn a lesson and get something out of it.
Quite so. Quite so. All right. We're coming back to talk to Dionne. She's self-actualizing on a daily. We still have to call her doctor. We're going to talk to her more about that. And just other areas. You almost... Why? How close are we? We've got to be...
Plan is to submit next year.
Okay, so
Plan.
we're almost there. More with soon to be Doc Jackson Miller after this. Soon come. Back with Dionne, everybody. Dionne, before the break, you spoke about some of the folks who've made a difference in your life in terms of mentorship. That has led you to prioritizing mentorship yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I always message you or message Gio or whomever it is that you always just fling in there because you know they can. And the amount of lives that you've just changed in helping to bring people up. Mentorship is a very important thing to you.
It is, because again, when you look at what you want to achieve, for me, part of it must be helping to make other people's lives better. And I think it was my daughter who said, and you know, I'm so proud of her in how she operates in her workspace, because she's the same thing. A lot of the young people she supervises look up to her, and she says, you know, that work is already so difficult. She can't conceive of why you as a senior person would try to make life more difficult for the young people you work with. So I've been here for a while. I know the advantages, I know the disadvantages, and I know what a wonderful, we have so many wonderful platforms here in the group, but they're not always immediately obvious to people who just come into the group. And also, I find it's very easy to get stuck. You come and you're given a particular job that is here, and 5 years later, you're still here. And a lot of times, it's simply because you don't know. Nobody has said to you, hey, how about trying this? How about trying that? You know, let's give you some... A lot of times, you want somebody or you need somebody to give you the opportunity and give you sometimes even the permission to go outside of the narrow confines of whatever box you started out in.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I hate seeing young people in a situation where they feel stuck and they feel miserable. And I'm like, no, come on, what can we do? Let me help. And it's not something I've never wanted, because You're not going to say editor on my title, you know. I've never wanted to be a manager, to be an editor, to run the newsroom. That's not how I've wanted to operate. So I want to do my programs that I'm doing, but those programs also are platforms. And I'm always saying to them, hey, how about doing this? You know, you can air it in MySpace. You can air it on Beyond the Headlines. You can air it on all angles. So I like to push people out of their comfort zone. One of my philosophies is that anybody who works with me, when you leave, you need to be better. You need to have more skills. You need to be more confident. You need to be prepared to step into a bigger and a better place.
Yep, pull them up.
Yes.
You're pulling them up.
Yeah.
You also believe in the simplicity of kindness and empathy.
That's such a nice way to say it. And I don't know if I could enunciate it any better than that, except just, I guess just what I said before, that the things that make a difference to people are sometimes seem so small. There's one of our colleagues, I won't call her name, but I just went up to her one day, a young person who was on air, and I said, hey, I love to see you on air. You know, you look so great and you have such fantastic energy. And like about a year or two later, she came and she said to me, oh my gosh, you will never know what that meant to me, because I was in such a bad place. I was feeling bad about myself, and to have you say that to me really gave me a lift. So sometimes just small stuff like that.
Yeah. I know you say you don't have a struggle story, but I know you've had your challenges and things you've been through. You've been open about your journey with endometriosis, and you spoke a little bit to us about COVID. Let's talk a little bit first about your endo journey, because that's important to share.
Yeah, and there are so many people who still don't know what endometriosis is. Whenever I hear women, endometriosis is a condition where the tissue in your uterus starts to grow outside your uterus. And then when you're having a period and you're having period pains, and you're bleeding as you do during a period. Sorry if this is sounding a little graphic. No. But all those tissues that are in other places then start to bleed as well. So you're having all of that happening all over your body, and it leads to some of the most debilitating pain you can imagine. It leads to infertility. And a lot of women, as I said, don't even know it's happening. When it started, I didn't know what was happening to me. And I went through a while before I got diagnosed. And by the time I was diagnosed, it was at the point where I was in pain every single day, every single minute of the day. I would come.
Every single day, every single minute of the day?
Yeah, before I started treatment. I would come home from work and just come in and just lie down on the floor, because, the tile is cold and it helps to soothe the pain. And my husband would tell my kids, not to go near me, not to go near mommy. And I'd be walking. I remember one time I'd be in makeup. I was doing all angles, and I was sitting in makeup, and I was sitting there and I was just bawling. And as a makeup artist was putting makeup on me, I was bawling, and she was at her wit's end, not knowing what to do, because painkillers stop working.
Yeah.
When you're taking painkillers 3, 4, 5 times a day, they're going to stop working very quickly. And you just don't know what to do.
How long were you in that situation until you got diagnosed?
It may have been a year to 18 months before I finally said, okay, this is not normal. Let me go to my doctor. And she scheduled me for, big up Charmaine Mitchell, she's like amazing doctor. She scheduled me for a laparoscopy, which is when you put this little microscope thing inside you. And then when I went back to her for the results, she said she could not believe. She said, women who have as severe endo as you have, she would see them coming to her wrapped in sheets bawling. And she started me on Depo. That's the injection, because what that does is stop the periods. And if the periods stop, then the pain stops. And I literally remember, I think it was like a Thursday or Friday, I got my first injection. And within about 3 to 4 days, the pain stopped. And I remember the feeling of suddenly feeling pain-free. So forever, for the rest of my life, I see people with chronic pain differently. Because it's hard to enjoy anything. You can't enjoy your loved ones. When people say you're miserable, yes, you're miserable because you're in such pain. You can't enjoy the sunshine. all your life is consumed with pain.
God bless Depo. God bless Doc.
And God bless Dr. Mitchell,
Oh my gosh. So ladies, if you're watching and you're having or experiencing some of the symptoms
it
Dionne
can be
spoke
endo,
about.
it can be fibroids, but we as women, especially in, I don't know if it's just in Jamaica,
culture, yeah.
but we are told that periods are supposed to be painful. And women suffer through things that can be treated in different ways. So yes, if your periods are such that you're absolutely debilitated, you have to see a doctor. You have to see a doctor.
Your whole quality of life changes after that.
Listen to
And has.
Yeah.
And has. More with Dionne on the other side, folks. We're right back. All right, folks, we're back with Dionne. Just talked a little bit about her journey with endometriosis. Very private person indeed, but when you got COVID, you decided that you were going to share that. Why did you decide you were going to share?
I got COVID pretty early in the pandemic, and it was at a time when there was still all this stigma attached to it. You know, you'd see people disappear and people would kind of be whispering, she have COVID. And, you know, it was this whole thing. And I didn't want it to be that. I wanted to be open with people who knew me as well as my listeners, my viewers or whatever. So the day I was diagnosed, I just put it out on Twitter to say, hey guys, I'm COVID positive. I'm going to be taking time off to get better or something like that, you know, and whatever. And that I firmly believe doing that saved my life.
Tell me why you say that.
Because when I put it out there, I think that day about 3 or 4 different doctors called me to say, what can I do to help? One in particular who I won't name for his reasons, basically took over my care. And to cut a long story short, you know, all those pictures and videos you saw of people gasping because they couldn't breathe, and that was a big thing with people before they died. Well, that wasn't me, but it turned out that I had what is called happy hypoxia, which means your oxygen is falling, but you don't know. So you're not gasping and gasping for breath so that people know to put you on oxygen. The only way they're going to know is if they're testing you. So this particular doctor who was overseeing my care said my oxygen had to be taken every 4 hours religiously, and that includes through the night. And he said, if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen on about day 10. And like clockwork on day 10, the person who was testing me said, your oxygen is falling.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Where was your blood ox? Do you know?
Let me see, the normal I think is 95 and over. Mine had gone to, it was in the early 90s.
Okay.
But it was just that it had started to fall and it wasn't going back up. So he immediately instructed that I must be put on oxygen, be put on various kinds of medication at the time. And then there was a point at which, again, to cut a very long story short, the most important thing that I will always remember is that I was sent for a lung scan at some point. And he didn't tell me the results immediately. Afterwards, he shared with me that he had sent the scan up to some specialists for them to test, for them to look at. And they said she has severe COVID. There are 5 lobes of the lung that they use to look at the severity of the COVID. And the severity is out of 5. 3 of the lobes of my lung were 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, meaning completely impacted. The other 2 were 2.5 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5. And he said, the specialist said, what normally happens with people who have COVID this severe is that they come in so late in the sequence, the process of their illness, that they can't be saved and they go downhill and die. And again, I'm going to say I'm completely convinced that what saved me was because I put it out there. So I was put on oxygen as soon as my levels started to fall, and I was also, given immediate medical intervention, very early and very intense.
You are proper blessed. Can I tell you?
I absolutely
I know a little bit about happy hypoxia, right? Because my mom's levels fell to 85.
Wow.
So, and she didn't know.
Yeah.
So you are among the very, very blessed.
Yeah.
And that was an inflection point in your life.
Yes.
COVID changed into yes, I'm doing that. Yes, I'm doing that. You and I had a discussion about Dionne and I had a discussion about imposter syndrome, right? Dionne sharing with me that she often feels it, and I said to her, me too, and she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, but after COVID, Dionne, it's like your life.
You have to put yourself out there. If you fail, you fail. But the worst thing is, and I know all of these sound like cliches, but that's because they're true. The worst thing is when you don't try. You want to do something, you try it. If it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't work out, you can try again, or you can say, all right, maybe I'm going to do something different. But, they sitting down and thinking, I think one of the most important things for me, and it's a saying you'll see on social media, we don't have time.
We don't, Dionne, we don't have time.
You think you have time, and you wake up tomorrow and you hear you have a cancer diagnosis, you have a COVID diagnosis or something. You don't know. So I know more than ever, and COVID was that turning point for me, living for now. Not to say you're not planning for the future, but I wholly believe that you have to live every moment and enjoy the journey, even as we work towards the various goals that, because you still need goals.
So you just start check bucket list.
Exercise,
check.
I literally
Hiking,
have
check.
a journal called my bucket list journal, among my many other journals, because I have like about 4.
Training, check. YouTube page, check. I mean,
yeah. You have to
Peru, check.
What's that?
Was Peru that you went to?
Peru with Debbie. Yeah, amazing. And I kept saying the whole time, I was saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Because it sounds so exotic. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing that, you would do. But it was one of the most amazing experiences.
And had it not been for COVID, would you have just forged forward like this? You probably would.
Probably not. Probably not.
A lot of things you'd probably still want to do.
Yes, because I look back now and I'm like, oh, I should have done so-and-so years ago. But then again, I also do believe that, it is what it is and not before it's time.
Exactly.
Not before time.
Exactly right.
Look how long we've been trying to do this interview.
I know. You notice me say nothing at this start. But the timing is always right. I live at that place now. Dionne, you've had a great network of support around you. Good Vibes is a part of the show. So I won't even segue or introduce it. Just run it, Laurie. Go ahead.
DJM Jamaica, and this journalism space in Jamaica is better because you are in it. You are one of the most dedicated, hardworking persons I know. And the kind of passion you put into your work is something that has been an inspiration for me for many years. And getting the chance to work with you has been one of the highlights of my career so far. And I want to say to you that goal-getter mindset that you have is inspiring. Thank you for being so great. Thank you for being a compassionate and caring person. Big up yourself, DJM. Love always.
You have made me better as a journalist for who you are. I've learned so much from you in the way how you conduct yourself as a reporter, as a producer. You have truly helped me to grow into the person I am. And so I just want to say, Dionne, keep going and keep pushing. Your influence is so wide, so wide. Thank you.
You deserve all the flowers in this world for the work that you do, especially for young people and the impact you've made on my life. You're selfless, you're kind, and when I applied to be a production assistant, I knew from early that mediocrity was not an option. Thank you so much for being in my life, and thank you so much for being a friend, a role model, and helping me in this journey of life.
It's an absolute blessing and a pleasure to work with you. You are one of the best human beings I know. I think everyone who has come around you and gotten a chance to work with you has benefited from your immense wealth of knowledge that you are very willing to share. It's one of the things that I absolutely admire about your ability to just help bring out the best in young people and young journalists. I think one of the things that most people won't realize is that because they see you on TV and the programs that you host, you have to be kind of stirred and serious most of the times. Most people don't know how much of an absolutely fun-loving person you are and how very cool you are and down-to-earth to be around. And I think I get the benefit of both of that. And I'm just eternally grateful and blessed to know you. And I don't know One love and big up yourself every time, and you don't know A-team. You know how the thing go already.
When my father died and I was dealing with all of that, the grief, the morning you called me and you said to me, what you need? Do you need to talk about it? Do you need, just to talk about something else? And I always remember that, and I still appreciate that, because I really just needed someone to hold space for me, just to be there for me. And that's what you did for me in that moment. And it's not the only time that you do that, or that you've done that for me in over 20 years of friendship. You're always the first one to set up the friend group so that we can see each other, as well as the other members of the group, and just talk about exercise, about career, about the things that we're dealing with, and I continue to learn every day about what it means to really show up for someone, to really be there for someone, and to really be a true friend. And so I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just to hope, though I know that you'll continue to be that, the wonderful friend that you are.
I've often observed of Dionne that she seems to live by the motto, leave no friendship behind. That has been my experience of her in the 3 decades that we have known each other, professionally and as friends. She has been very supportive of me and other persons within her orbit, and she continues to provide that kind of support. She has been a cheerleader for me in my own career. And Dionne, I want to say to you that there's so much respect I have for you in terms of your own professional growth. The fact that you keep, in a sense, reinventing yourself to good effect. So long may that continue. Enough love, enough respect, more power for the future.
Big up yourself, Dionne. Congratulations. I'm excited for you. Congratulations. Top of your game from day one. You say kill them with excellence. They don't know the work that you have put in, but you have put in the work, and you deserve everything that you're getting today. Carpe diem nation. Friends always. Great sister, great daughter, great friend, great mother, wife, everything that's good. Keep it up, the sky's the limit.
Being your close friend for many decades, from adolescence straight through to adulthood, I've been privileged to share in all your amazing achievements and transitions. Your transition from a petite, absolutely non-athletic person to a fitness enthusiast doing marathons and hiking mountains across Jamaica and the world. Through all of these, Dionne, I have been super proud, but also very, very inspired by your brilliance and your perseverance to succeed and to excel. I love you, girl. Friends for life.
I just want to let you know how proud we are of you and your accomplishments in life up to this point, both professionally and also in your personal life. As your younger sibling, you've always set a very high standard for me to follow, and that has served me really well from the earliest days of school right up to the current time. I know you still have a lot more that you want to accomplish, and you don't have any intentions of slowing down anytime soon. But with your drive and your commitment to excellence, I have no doubt you will achieve all that you want to in this life. I cherish the bond that we have as brother and sister, and I'll always be here supporting you in any way I can, cheering you on, and just being proud to be your brother. Take care and much love.
Mommy, I love you. I've said this 100 times at least, and I'll say it 10,000 times more. I love how understanding you are and supportive you are. Whenever me and Lindsay have a problem, you sit us down and listen to the problem, and probably put in even more effort than either of the two of us trying to fix the problem. I love your attitude towards life nowadays, how energetic you are.
Hi, Mommy. As you can see, I borrowed your background. I just wanted to say how much I love you and how much I appreciate all that you do. I've always been told that I have big shoes to fill, and you've always told me not to worry about that, to pave my own path, to live my own life, and to do everything that I can to the best of my abilities. I just want to say that I appreciate the mother that you are, someone that I can always come to, someone that will listen to me, offer advice, support me in everything, fully without judgment. How lucky am I? Just wanted to say that I love you so much. You do so much. You are so good at so many things. You know, one and two things, like singing and dancing, and not so much, but, you know, just wanted to tell you so that you know, even if I may not say it all the time, but just know that I love you enough now.
Dionne, I am happy to share in this occasion, recognizing your many qualities and achievements. Watching your personal and professional journey over the years, I have been so proud of the person you have become. You know, I had glimpses of your inquiring mind as you were growing up. I remember on one occasion when, as a little girl, you refused to eat your dinner. And I asked you, as was typical in those days, do you know how many children are starving all over the world? And your reply, no, Mommy, how many? What can I say? You have been a wonderful daughter in a family that is close and supportive, and you have pursued your career with excellence. Love and blessings.
I always wondered how you did that. You found almost everybody.
I will never tell you my secret. You'll never know. You'll never know.
Thank you. That was so awesome.
So.
Thank you all so much. And, you know, I'd mentioned my daughter, I'd mentioned my husband and so on, but I also have to mention my son, who is like the most amazing person. And just watching him grow into who he is going to be, because he's very much on a growth path now. It's one of the most exciting things for me right now, actually.
You say that to hear, to watch them as they grow. So Lindsay's a lot like you. Justin is here to teach you patience.
Yes, yes. Justin is very different from me, and as such, you have to think it's not about me. It's about how do I help him become who he is supposed to be, not become a mini-me.
Correct. But he's working along with you. He's a part of your team now.
He is. I'm so proud of him. He's my video editor, and he's doing so good. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
You must feel fulfilled as a mom. And you say as a wife, you only want peace. As a mother, you are there to guide them. As a wife, as long as your household has peace.
Yeah, man. I think that's one of the most important things in life. Peace and support and, you know, civility and friendship.
Absolutely.
I think that just takes you a huge way.
All right. We're back to lead our show with Dionne after this. Soon come. All right, folks, we're back leading the show with Dionne Jackson Miller. We're talking about something you said moved you to tears. You admit, you said, I'm very bally, you know. But you said, no, you process things in a different way. So what you think about before you allow things to get to you or to get you out is, will it matter in 6 months?
Yes. And very, very, very few things will. So dealing with health issues, so for instance, I know, make sure I prioritize. If I have a health appointment and somebody is trying to book me for something on that day, no, I forgot to my doctor, almost inevitably. I have my hiking time and people try to book work during that time. Not to say there are not some exceptions, but generally speaking, that's not going to happen. So on a bad drive, you're in traffic though, look, that's not going to matter, just making go on, you know. Somebody irritating you or saying something that's annoying you, again, process it. Is it something that's really important? Most times not. A lot of times as well, like on social media, I used to actually engage with people and argue and whatever. The most valuable thing I have gift I've given myself on social media is to just keep going. You don't have to jump in every conversation, make people go on. Somebody says something that's bizarre, even if it's to you, leave them.
Yeah.
Left it alone.
Yeah.
Peace of mind is way more important than struggling to be right or struggling to win.
Absolutely. Priceless even.
Yeah.
So we're leaving people with a couple of things. One, you encourage people, live life absolutely fully.
And enjoy, I mean, one of the things I'm now exploring is mindful living. You know, like you're taking a walk, not just walk. You know, take some time to look at the clouds and the cloud formations. Notice how the breeze feels on your skin, how the sun feels. Not talking about sun hot. I mean, even wildflowers, where Jamaicans sing to call bush. Yeah. They're so pretty, some of them, you know, and that's part of what hiking does for me as well. It just takes you out into nature, and the hike itself is a meditation, and I think you try to incorporate as much as possible. You know, I drive into RJR parking lot and I get a parking space in the middle of the day. Yeah.
Of course.
That's a little happy moment.
Providence. She also says, leave a legacy of good work. Push yourself to your limit and beyond, and be kind and help others, because simple things touch people's lives.
Yes.
Great rules by which to live. Thank you for sitting in my chair. Oh my gosh, it only took us like forever, but it was the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
Thank you for thinking I had a story worth sharing.
Of course. What do you know? Think you do, or do you still not?
Well, you know.
No matter what you think, you had a story and you imparted a lot of knowledge and a lot of inspiration for somebody watching today, right, guys? Yes. Affirmation time. Thank you, DJ. Let's wrap the show. So many of us are so busy going through the routine of life, the repetitive, clockwork-like days and nights, the mundane moments that we perform on autopilot, that we forget about the joy. I mean, the joy that is not every single day, but it's an essential seasoning to sweeten life's pot. Sometimes our nudge to do what must be done, right? And more of what we love is a not so gentle nudge, you know. It's a rough but a crucial reminder that time is temporary. And so memories must be made while we have that time and while we have breath. So this is your gentle reminder tonight that there is more to life than you're doing now. You just have to choose a little more to make your time here a little more magical. So tonight we are affirming, I will do more with my time to have the time of my life. And that is our soul food and our show for this evening. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're back next week with another story of the power of the human spirit. Until then, every blessing, and please remember to count your blessings.